Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics video on the channel. It's Thursday, it is captain time, and we'll be going through our round 3 captains and who you guys should be picking as your C's and VCs, obviously because we have another bye week, meaning we got blue dots and we can use that little loophole again. So be interesting to see how we go. Last week, our captains went pretty well. So I'm just having a look here. So 7 of our top 10 went over 110. The only guys that didn't was a Sheasel, 102, Cherry with a 90, and DeConey 107. So they're the 3 from 7 through 9. We had Rosie at 1 for a 145, Dawson at 2, 134, Neil at 3, 117, Dunkley at 4, 111, and Nick Dacos at 5 at 136. We're also having Zorko 126 at number 6, and then Merritt at number 10 with a 138. So really good week of captains. Hopefully we can go well again this week. So let's get started with who our top 5 will be in round 3. So at number 1, he was big. Well, the top 3 were big last week. And number 1 was the biggest of the 3 last week, and that is Jack Macrae I've got at number 1. So very, very interesting that he didn't even feature in the top 10 last week, and he's smack bang at number 1. I think that the big reason for this is just the fact that we saw what he did last week, and the ceiling is still there from Jack Macrae. 153, 35 touches, 8 marks, and 10 tackles is fantastic. Comes up against Richmond this week, which we just saw Connor Rozee go 145 against, under the roof at Marvel. I could just see Jack Macrae racking up the ball once again. Obviously, it's a good matchup. He's not going to get tagged. He fills all the stat lines. This could be a big game from him. So I've got him at number 1. There is argument to be made that I could have him lower, but I'm going to put him at number 1 because I just like the upside of him this week, and I think he could go back-to-back 130-plus scores here. So for me, he is sitting at number 1. Number 2, well, fair, to be honest, the top 5 could arguably be number 1 in any given week, right? But at number 2, I've gone for my boy again, Jordan Dawson. Obviously, started like a house on fire. 134 points last week, 126 in round 1. He's back at home this week, which we know that he does love playing at. But his recent history against North Melbourne is ridiculous. His last 4 games against them. So he scored 122 against them last year down in Tassie. That was when he rested a lot of the last quarter as well. So that could have been a 140. He then went 136, 129, and 120 in his other 3 games against them. So great ceiling, and I think those first 2 as well, the 129, the 120, were when he actually played in defence, if I'm not mistaken, because he only played North Melbourne once last year. So, the 136 in 2023, then the other 2 were before that, and great recent history, good form at the moment. I don't know if anyone's going to tag him. Okay, Will Phillips might stand next to him, but Will Phillips isn't going to be able to. I don't think he's going to be able to run with a guy like Dawson. He's obviously a good pack marker. He can take good marks overhead. I think he'll just do it to Will Phillips, and if not, he'll just go forward and maybe kick a goal or 2. So for me, Dawson number 2, and I'm pretty happy with him sitting there as number 2 as well. Number 3, following very, very close behind, is Connor Rozee. I said about Dawson's record against North Melbourne's very good. Connor Rosee's record against Essendon is also very, very good. So in Connor Rosee's last 5 games against Essendon, 133, 145, 96, 115, 113. Those last 2 as well, over 130 is fantastic. 145 last week against Richmond. So obviously he's in form at the moment. Had a 112 against Collingwood in round 1. Another good matchup. Essendon is a good matchup for mids. I think Rozee is another great option. Could arguably be at number 2 ahead of Dawson. I think North Melbourne, they're an okay matchup, but they're not obviously as easy as what they once were. But yeah, Rozee I like. I've just got Dawson ahead, probably for more that ceiling. I think he hits the 130s a lot more than what a Rozee can do, even though we have seen Rozee done last week, and his recent history against Essendon suggests that. That's probably my splitting factor, but a lot of people will prefer Rozee maybe this week over Dawson, with Essendon being the easier matchup. We saw what Dawson and Crouch did last week to Essendon, both going 130, so I think Rozee will have another good score this week. Coming in at number 4, round 1, I wouldn't have said this guy was in my top 5, but last week he was back to form. Rowan Marshall is at number 4 for me. We know Richmond's a great matchup for Rucks. Nank does give up points, and Marshall, again, another player that's got really good history against his opponent recently. And Marshall's last 4 scores against Richmond, 140, 136, 131, and 103. Those last 3 scores obviously really sticking out, all going over 130. He scored 142 last week against Geelong. Obviously, Geelong's a great matchup for rucks, but it's the fact that he looked good, probably still didn't look 100%, but was slowly getting back to that form. Looked good around the ground. I think this is a great matchup for him again. I think he goes well. And I've got him at number 4. So if you do have him, could be a cheeky VC if you want to go maybe different to a McRae. I think a lot of people are going to go McRae as a captain or a vice captain this week. So if you want to go different, you've got Marshall. You could definitely look at doing something like that. Number 5 was quite tough. I had 5 and 6 really splitting hairs, and I didn't quite know where to go. But I've ended up landing on TDK, Tom De Koning, as my number 5 option. So scored last year, funny enough, scored 90 against the Bulldogs, and that was sharing with Pitney. So had a good game against the Bulldogs, even though he was sharing. Started the year, though, with 132 and 107. The 132 against Nank, and then the 107 against Pitney. Sorry, not against Pitney. They play for the same team. 107 against Meek. I got it right there. So 132 against Nank, 107 against Meek. And that score against Meek, I think he was stuck on the bench in the last quarter for like 10 minutes. So that could have been easily a 120. Obviously, he's looking very, very good in this solo ruck role as that extra midfielder, getting plenty of the ball, which just means his ceiling is quite high. He's a guy that would be a really good shout for a VC on the Friday night. Like if you don't have a Dawson, or you're not looking at McRae, maybe you go Rosie, and you don't want to go Rosie VC, you could go TDK VC on the Friday night. I do like potentially that play to go something different. I think he could be really big this week. Started the season well, looking good as a solo ruck, and I do like Tom De Koning this week. As I said, followed very closely behind at number 6. This guy's probably very stiff to be missing out in the top 5 because I wanted to put him in there, but I've just bumped him down with the 2 rucks going ahead of him, and that's Josh Dunkley. So Josh Dunkley's been very good to start the year. 130 and 111 last week against West Coast. Slowed down the second half, didn't get as much of it. The only reason I bumped him down is I just think TDK and Marshall have got the ability this week to go and hit all the stat lines and go big. If this game is going to be wet like I suppose it is, Dunkley's going to rack the tackles up. But obviously the marks won't be there necessarily. I think the touches will be there as well. As I said, he's very unlucky to miss. And I had Dunkley at number 5 for a little bit before I did this video, but I've just switched it to the TDK. But Josh Dunkley is a very, very good option this week. If you've got him, I do like him. I think he can go really well and potentially hit a ceiling score with all those tackles. Number 7, I've got Noah Anderson. So again, his recent history against Melbourne is good. Last 2 games, 118, 132. Away from home is why I bumped him down this. If this was at home, he'd be knocking on the door of the top 5. And I know that he already is, but he'd be a little bit higher. I just think that as the captain of Gold Coast now, I think that his ceiling away from home can be hit a lot more frequently. I think he's going to stand up for them. Big game for Gold Coast. Melbourne, obviously losing their first 2 games, they're going to want to come out and win this game. Obviously with the whole news in the week with Gorn and everything like that. So they're going to want to come out and get a win. But Gold Coast also want to make a statement away from home and get back-to-back wins away from home, which they didn't do too much of last year. So I think Noah Anderson's going to be at the front of the queue for getting points for Melbourne against Melbourne. And I think he'll go quite well. So he's at number 7. At number 8, I've got Tristan Cherry. So scored just the 83 against the Crows last year. This was at the start of the year when he wasn't going as well as what he was. In the back half of the year when he started getting a lot more confidence in this ruck role. Scored 90 against Gorn last week. The tackles weren't there, which was quite surprising. Only had the 2 tackles. I think they're going to be back up this week. The Crows, obviously a high stoppage team. I think that'll go straight into Tristan Cherry's hands as well. And I think he can put up a good score again. Just down the list a little bit, just with the matchup. Isn't as good as some of the other ones we've talked about, like Anderson, Dunkley. All of them above him have got better matchups. But I think Tristan Cherry is a pretty safe captain option on the Sunday. If you didn't have a Dawson and you've gone a VC for one of these guys here, I think he could be a captain shout on the Sunday. At number 9, I've got Caleb Sarong, who, from a football sense, has got a great history against West Coast. I don't know how many. I can't remember. Is it Glendelling medal or something? I can't remember the exact name, but the medal that you get for the Western Derby over there. Great history against them, but his scores aren't really reflective of how dominant he normally is in these games. So his last 5 scores against West Coast: 100, 107, 86, 127, and 98. I think he will go big this week because I think the Free have struggled the first couple of weeks with their games. And Sarong also hasn't scored many points. He got a tag last week. We see that these players, once they have got past the tag and they're going to go into a game where you're not expecting them to get a tag, the shackles are off and they get a lot more of the ball. I could see Sarong doing that this year in this game. I still think a guy like maybe a Liam Duggan could tag him mid-game, which is the worry and why I've got him down the list, because I think you could see Sarong beyond 65, 70 points at half-time. They send someone like a Duggan or a Jack Graham or someone to do a job against Sarong and him get to a low 100. So that's why I've got him lower, but there is a potential that he does go big this week and has his first ton of the year and potentially a 110, 120 score. So he's at number 9. If he hit that ceiling a bit more frequently, he would be higher because the matchup's great against West Coast. Rounding out my number 10, Jack Sinclair. So Richmond, we know how good of a matchup this is. Obviously, we saw all the Port defenders last year rack up. And Jack Sinclair also has a pretty good history against Richmond in his last 5. So he's gone 116, 105, 121, 193. So going from most recent to furthest away. We know that he can, again, another player that can hit all the stat lines there and put up ceiling scores. We've seen multiple scores of 130 from Jack Sinclair in the past. I think he could hit that sort of ceiling. And if you want to be real spicy and go for a real spicy VC, he could potentially be a play for you this week. I think in terms of like other players, I think more people have got McRae, Dawson, Rosie, TDK, Tristan Sherry, a few of these guys. But if you want to go something a bit different as a VC, and you don't want to go McRae because I think a lot of the pack will go with McRae as a VC or a captain, I don't mind a bit of a Jack Sinclair as a sneaky vice-captain shout into someone later on that night or on the Sunday. So, yeah, I've got Jack Sinclair in the 10, and I think he'll have a good game this week. Some of the other unlucky names, there's 7 names I had on the list that were quite unlucky to probably miss out in the top 10. So Clayton Oliver, Gold Coast, good matchup for mids. I think that Clayton Oliver we saw last week, he's back. He looked good, getting better. 114 last week against North. I think he can have a good game this week, but just missed out. I'd nearly put him at number 10 instead of Sinclair, but went for Sinclair instead with the matchup. Sam Walsh against the Dogs. I think Walsh last week looked a bit better than what he did in round 1. I think he's starting to slowly get back to the Sam Walsh we know. Dogs is a good matchup at the moment without Bont and Treloar, so I think he can have a good game there. Harry Sheasel against the Crows. I think he went 125 last year against them, so good score from him. Obviously, that was in a bit more of a half-back role. Obviously, he's a bit more forward of the ball, so I don't think I'd look at him as a captain this week. I think he can still ton up, but I just don't know if he's going to go the 120 that he did last year in the half-back role. So Sheasel is there. Jack Steele against Richmond. We don't actually see Jack Steele really cash in on some easy matchups. He'll go well against the high stoppage teams. Like he'll go well against an Adelaide, even though he didn't go well against them this year. But he'll go well against the harder teams, the guys that he gets a lot of tackles for. I don't know if the tackles are necessarily going to be there against Richmond this week. I think there could be more outside ball for a guy like Jack Steele. I think he'll still go well, but I don't know if he's going to go massive like we have seen him in games in the past. I don't know if Richmond necessarily. I see guys like your Sinclairs and your McRaes and your Marshalls, guys like that, and even an Asai Wangani Miller, who's also on the list here, that could be a cheeky VC shout. But just the reason I don't have him in the list for Nasai is he just doesn't need that 120 ceiling as much. I think he only did it twice last year. Hasn't done that this year yet. This is a game where I think he could go 120, but we just don't see the 130s from him like we do with the Sinclair. But yeah, Jack Steele, he'll be okay. I'm just not sure if he'll go massive, but I could be wrong with Jack Steele. Lockie Whitfield, he was one that I thought about putting in. His last 2 scores against Hawthorn, I was actually quite surprised because I sort of look at Hawthorn and go, okay, for Whitfield, that's probably a Finn McGuinness has probably gone to him in the last couple of games. But last year in the 2 games they played, Lockie Whitfield had 137 last year. And did they play them twice? Yeah, they played them twice. And then the other game against them last year, 123. So really good 2 games against Hawthorn last year. Both cracking games, both by a goal or less there. And I expect maybe something similar. So Lockie Whitfield could go well this week down at UTAS night game, which is really cool to see as well. So Whitfield, cheeky VC shout on the Saturday night if you want to go and you've got him. I just don't have him on the list because Finn McGuinness is playing as a forward. I wouldn't be shocked if they put Finn McGuinness as defensive forward on Whitfield. So that's why he's not in the top 10 this week. Just that little flag there. And Andrew Brayshaw could be someone that could go quite well against West Coast this week. Has been poor to start the season. But in this game against West Coast. I think he'd go quite well. I guess the reason he's not my top 10 is he just hasn't had a great history against West Coast in the recent. So he went 1-15 against them last year, which was good. But normally he hasn't had as good a history against them. So that's my concern with him down. But again, a bit like Sarong, had a couple of lean weeks. I expect Freo to come out and play quite well. So I think Brayshaw could put up a big score here. I'm just getting his career average against West Coast. So it's only 83.5, which is one of his lowest against any team. So quite interesting. So that's why he's not currently on the list there. Just in terms of other names I didn't touch on in the video here. Zorko, I would be really keen on. He would be in the top 10. Just the weather. The weather's the reason that he's not in the top 10. So if it's raining, I just don't see him putting up a big enough score to be a captain-worthy option for us. Talk about Nasaya. Merritt was another name I probably could have maybe touched on as well. Just the Port matchup is a bit tricky for me. Obviously, he's playing really well at the moment, and I think he even talked about maybe some half-back time on AFL 360 as well. So that'll be interesting to note over the next couple of weeks. But he scored well against Port last year. What did he have last year? Like even though Port won by a lot, he had 135. So could see something similar like that happening again. Then a 114 the time before that in 2023. He went 120. So his record against, actually, and that other game was in 2023. So looks like his recent history against Port's actually quite good. Then he went 86 in 2022, and then the other game in 2022 he went 103. So good recent history against Port. I just think Willem Drew might do some sort of job on him there, or someone may go to him. So that's the only reason he's there. And Port a tough matchup as well. So, but wouldn't be shocked if he put up a big score just because Essendon under the pump. They need to come out with performing a lot better than what they have. So, anyone else? Pretty much touched on most people here, and then a few people obviously have just chucked him there. Tom Green would be one maybe some people look at. Connor Nash, I think, will go to Tom Green. He always does when they play GWS. I know Finn Callan's played well, but Tom Green Connor Nash matches up really well against Tom Green, so that'll be worried about. Luke Jackson, if you've got him in your team, I think he'll put up a good score this week against West Coast, playing as the number one ruck if Reedy's not named again. I just don't think I'd look at him as a captain or anything like that because he plays the final game of the round. Jaden Short could be good, along with Tom Power, just probably not captain options for me. Interesting that a few people have picked Will Day here when he's going to get the Bedford tag, more than likely. So they're my top 5 and they're my top 10. So that's where I'm currently seeing. In terms of my C and VC plans, I'm looking at going Jack McRae VC into Jordan Dawson. Again, I've thought about Rosie VC into Jack McRae. I just think with how good Jordan Dawson's been this year back at home, I go to there as well. And I do like the fact of going Jack McRae VC, trying to get that big VC score. And if he doesn't go big enough, then I go into Jordan Dawson on the Sunday. So that's where I'm looking at going with my captains this week. Let me know in the comments below, guys, who you are going with your VC and C this week. I'll be keen to see if you guys are sort of following suit with a couple of the guys at the top there. Or if you're going something a bit different, I'll be keen to know. But make sure you do smash a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. We just passed 3,500 subscribers, so thank you very much. We're halfway there to the 4K club, so we're less than 500 away. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. We've got daily content on the channel as always throughout the season. Another watch along will be back tonight for the the Essendon and Port game. So should be a fun one. Hopefully a few you guys can go well. Be good if Zach Reid put up a good score and got us off to a good start. Potentially could even be able to, I'll probably be using him as the loop there on the bench. So be interesting to see how he goes. And guys like Rosie and Merritt and whoever else you've got in your teams from those two. We've got to watch on them. We're back tomorrow as well for our pre-lockout chat. If you've got any questions you'd like answered, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Perth time. So make sure you guys come and tune in as we chat about all of your questions and preview the upcoming round. Then another watch along tomorrow night tomorrow night as well, and also along on Saturday. So looking forward to those. And if you want to hit up Patreon as well, head to patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics to get all your questions answered there, plus bonus content. You get the Ask Me On Q service for free as a Patreon member. So if you'd like to become a Patreon member, then click the link in the description. And questions, you can go to askmeonq, spelled QU.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. The link is also in the description for that one. Team reviews, any questions you guys have, you get personalized audio response to your email, to team reviews, everything. Anything you want, I can answer that for you there. As I said, though, Patrons do get that service for free. So if you want to hit those up, feel free to do that. So thanks, guys, for watching. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow, well, tonight, if you want to tune in for our watch song. They're always good fun. Hope to see a few of your legends there. But if not, we'll catch you guys tomorrow for a pre-lockout chat. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night and enjoy the footy. See ya.